Okay, I want to take a brief couple of minutes here and talk about some projects that are assigned in BUS 317. Both projects are geared towards analyzing a company. Now, for most students, this is their first venture, if you will, into analysis. So, for that reason, it is what I think it's fairly difficult assignment. So, I'm trying to give some guidance, if you will, so that more of your effort is at the process of analyzing rather than the setting up of the paper and etc. So let's work our way through this project. So the first thing they ask you to do is they want you to choose two competing companies, and they give you a list of Coke and Pepsi, Home Depot and Lowe's, Walmart and Target, Nikes and Adidas. And these are two, obviously, companies that are all competitors with each other. Um, they ask you to go to a website. When you go to this website, you're given some instructions online at GCU. You're given some instructions of where to find the data. Unfortunately, that data or that website has changed its structure. So, what I would like to do is I'm going to go through this process. Here is where you ultimately end up. But let's just see how this works. So, if you go to my website here. Here's msn.com, right? So, what you need to do here is you need to scroll down the page until we come to the money section. Money, there's money right there. This is where you start your search. So I'm going to use this company. I'm going to use Molson Coors. So you type in the ticker symbol for your company. Of course, it comes up right here. If you don't know your ticker symbol, you can start typing the name, and of course, it ultimately will come up there. Right here it is right here. So click on that. Now here's where the website is changed. They tell you to go to something called fundamentals. Fundamentals does not exist here. You're going to go to analysis. So you click on analysis, and I'll have to scroll down here a little bit. So here's Molson Coors. Now here are the data points. So they have some key statistics. They have statistics about growth. If you scroll down, my screen's a little small, so it puts, usually it's going to be, they'll be side to side. These are growth rates, right? These are percentage growth rates. So they give you net income, they give you quarter to quarter, year to year, right? Changes, sales revenue, 5-year averages, net income, 5-year annual average, right? So then let's look at some of the other things. They have profitability. So they give you a picture of some ratios of profitability that in net profit margin, these are the basic ratios down below, right? So as you see here, we have gross margin, net profit margin. We have some 5-year average annuals. And you notice you have company and industry. I'll come to this in a couple of seconds. Let's just go through here. The price ratios. Price ratios are not all that important for this kind of analysis. They do have a little bit of a profit motive or indication to them, but they're driven by the stock market rather than being driven by the company. If you scroll down a little bit further, you'll find financial health. And here we have the debt equity ratio, current ratio, quick ratio, leverage ratio. You'll see why I'm pointing these out in a second. You go to management effectiveness, scroll down a ways, you're going to find return on equity, return on assets, return on capital, some other ratios here. Okay? So that's where you're going to go to find the data. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to complete a table. I'll show you the tables here in a second. But what you'll do is you have your company. This is the company you choose to analyze, and you're going to input an industry number, obviously if there's one there. But you need to do this for another company as well. So what I might need to do, I input this data. You'll see the tables here in a second. But we need to find, again, it's kind of hard to see here in my screen because it doesn't give me, doesn't scroll very well. You need to go back to where you were originally and then input the competitor's number. Now, when you input the competitor's number, let me see if I get this to expand a little bit. When you do the competitor's number, whoops, sorry, I went to the wrong place. Here we are. Blank up here. You expand this, right? So here's a quote search. It was just on the right. So maybe I would put Budweiser here, right, as a competitor for Coors. Now what you'll see, same thing. You'll get the same information analysis. And again, here's the tricky part to this. When you look at these ratios, let's look at the profitability ratios, you're going to notice a different industry. Depending on the two companies, they may not be exact industry matches. And that we really don't need to get into why that's true, but all companies are a little bit different. There's no exact two companies that you would say they are identical in their industry. You don't need this second industry. All you need is the industry for the company that you have chosen. Okay? So now let's go back to our presentation. So again, now we know where to get the data and how we're going to do this. So the next step, again, this is just working through what I just talked about. You go to the analysis, going to find these categories. I would like you to choose a minimum of 2 ratios for each category of ratio. Again, you'll see this in an upcoming slide. Again, you're going to do this twice, once for each of the companies. You'll get the data first, put it into the tables that I'm going to provide for you, and then you're going to do your analysis based on the information you show in that table. So basically, what are you going to show me? What are you going to talk about? You're going to define the type of liquidity. So we have 3 sets of ratios: liquidity, profitability, and solvency. You're going to define what liquidity is all about. Why is it important? What does it tell you about a company and its prospects? Then you're going to analyze the data that's in the table. You're going to take and copy and paste this table into your document. So you have a picture of what you're going to talk about. You're going to compare your company to the other company and the industry. Here's where I mentioned, obviously, different kinds of industries. You're then just going to repeat this for profitability and then solvency, and then you're going to move on to a conclusion for your paper. So here are the tables that I've provided for you, and I've given you some ratios to talk about. These are the ratios that make the most sense for these particular categories. So for liquidity, you're going to talk about current ratio, quick ratio. You'll input your numbers into these cells, do it here in this presentation, and then you're going to take and you're going to copy. Here, I just copied that. You're going to go to a Word document and try to get this in here so you can see it in the presentation here. You go to the home page, go to paste, and you want to paste as a picture. Paste picture. Click on that. Now the problem is that it goes off the page. So if you drag this corner, you can decrease the size of this particular table so that it fits inside the page. Just as a hint, I also would go in and do this thing. It's called wrap text. I always do wrap text square. So now no matter where you move this, it's going to fit inside your document. You can move it around, you can print above, you can copy above, below, etc. But when it comes over here, it will have the numbers in it from our previous slide. You'll do that again for these 3 slides. You move these tables, each table independently, right? You'll move them to the next paper. Of course, then you're going to give me a conclusion, provide an overall summary of the information you presented. Be sure to provide an opinion of what this means for that primary company that you've chosen. Don't forget, you need to provide a bibliography and citations. Again, I just want to kind of repeat this. I think this is difficult the first couple of times through, right? So I'm asking you, especially in your document here, most of what you're going to give me is an analysis of what you think the numbers mean. So as long as what you tell me has some logic to it, who am I to say that your opinion is wrong? Now, you could tell me that profits are getting better and that's bad. I know that that's not true, right? But if you say profits are getting better, but they're not growing fast enough, we'd like them to be a little bit better, this is what the company might do to fix that, that is your opinion. I have to accept that because it again, I might not agree with it, but it matches the numbers and the things that you're talking about. So for me, I think when I'm teaching this type of a project, students are going to try to answer the way they think I want them to answer. I want you to provide me with the data, give me an analysis of what that data means, and then as part of that, obviously, is your opinion. Now, there is another project in BUS 317, Project 8. Project 8 starts out very similar to what you just completed in the first project. You're going to prepare an executive review of the company and the industry. You're going to need at least, I would think, at least 1 slide per area. The slides, of course, are going to contain bullet points for discussion. Your analysis and speaking points are going to be typed in the notes section of the PowerPoint. You'll have, the first thing you'll do is give me a summary of the industry and the company that you've chosen. Again, be sure to talk about the industry and that company. Again, this is the primary company you had from Project 3 that we just talked about earlier in this video. You're then going to do the same thing for 3 slides. You're going to present liquidity, solvency, profitability. You're going to, I would put the same tables that you used in Project 3, put the same tables here, and then again, give me a synopsis, a summary of what you think this information tells you about this company. The next slide you'll talk about, you need to discuss the importance of the budgeting process in the chosen company. Again, relative to these ratios, what will these ratios do in helping you create budgets for operations in the company? The 7th line here really, I think, is going to take 2 slides. You need to provide a variance report and a balanced scorecard for the chosen company, comparative against the competitor company and the industry averages. So the variance report should contain the ratios that you've described in the earlier slides in a variance report, which shows differences and whether or not those variances, that's the differences, are favorable or unfavorable with respect to your company. The balanced scorecard is a little bit more complicated, right? Your text talks about different sections. There are 4 sections, and you need to find or discuss items within those sections that the company could use as a metric to determine whether or not they are meeting or working well in those areas. Again, when you get to the final, it's the next to last week of the course, week 7, that's where they'll talk about this balanced scorecard, and it will become a little bit more apparent. The next slide then is you need to identify which ratios impact capital budgeting decisions. This is not the same as budgeting. Budgeting is about operations. Capital budgeting is about investing in plant and equipment. So which ratios are going to impact cash flows, profitability, etc., and this capital budgeting decision. Finally, obviously, you're going to have a slide that talks about, is a concluding summary, talks about the company you've chosen, and your overall opinion of its prospects. Prospects as an investment, prospects as a future company. And then finally, don't forget, you need to have your citations identified in the bibliography. Now, I haven't said this earlier. Hopefully it makes some sense. But if you're using information from these bibliography sources, they have to be identified in the slides as well. So don't forget to properly cite your work and provide the bibliography at the end. This project, Project 8, is a PowerPoint slide. The first project for 3 is a Word document. Please make sure you spell check and grammar check your documents. It's very important. And of course, GCU also requires you to run this through Lopes Right to check for similarity, and it also will help you a little bit looking at where these similarity issues come from. What I would suggest you do, though, also, if you're using a Word document, which most folks will use Word, if you're using Word, make sure you have a grammar check, right? So I have download. I have a professional version of Grammarly, but there's a free version that connects to Word. And when you open that, it will help you understand where you have spelling errors and where you have grammar types of errors. So I don't think anything will happen if I click this, but what you'll see eventually has checks up here. It will tell you what your, I don't want to call them mistakes are or errors, but this is the one I look for. I look for correctness. This tells me if you have any spelling or grammar errors. If you properly edit your paper, you will see a 0 where this check mark is. Clarity, engagement, these are more subjective measures of how your paper is written. So I'm not so concerned about those. I'm concerned about spelling and grammar. So again, that's the end of this project. If you need assistance getting Grammarly loaded into your Word documents or into onto your computer, let me know. I guess I could create a video that would tell you how to do that. It won't take very long. It'll be about 2 minutes, but I can create a video that would tell you how to do that. But you can go to, let me just go back to where we were here, right? Make sure my address is in here, right here, right? You just go to Grammarly.com, and you can get Grammarly for free, right? So it says it has a free writing assistant. If you click on this, get started. It's free. I mean, you can't get much easier. Put your email and sign up. Of course, I'm already in, so I can't do this again, but this will help you. I'm telling you, this will help you so much with your writing skills. It just as a personal, it drives me crazy when students don't spell check their papers. It's a very simple process. Even in Word, you can do spell check, right? Word has a review. You can click on proofing, right? Click on the editor, and it will get, again, this one says, oh, I have to turn, okay, I have to set it up in this work, but when you click on this and you say, it will go through and it will check your paper. It will have things underlined. Anything underlined in red is a spelling error. Sometimes it's not really a spelling error. It's just the way you use the word. It doesn't look right. So you can always turn it off and say, no, I accept that. That's what I wanted it to say. Likewise, if things are blue, those could be grammar errors. Again, it will give you in here on the side, it will tell you what those suggestions are. I mean, I've even had, in Grammarly, sometimes they'll say, that sentence really is difficult to understand. Try this one, and they'll rewrite the sentence for you, right? So it's a great way to see how you're writing and to make corrections. I didn't mean to get off on a soapbox there, but so that's the end of this video on how to do the projects for this course. Look forward to seeing you again. Take care.